Um, Hello. So my name is Martin. I'm the reference and circulation librarian here at the library. And I am very happy to welcome Rob from Agawam Paranormal and Sydney, who is also an investigator. Agawam Paranormal is a family and friends-based team that conducts investigations locally at the request of a client for both commercial, residential, and historic sites that are suspected of having paranormal activity. And I'm sure he will talk a lot more about that. And we are also very happy because they are sponsoring this program. They're not charging us, so we're very glad to have you. And I'm glad that so many people came to enjoy it. So I won't take I won't take up any more of your time. So.
If you've got other events coming up, please promote those too.
Oh yeah. Well, we have next Tuesday at the same time we have the gravestone where I was talking about graveyards, so that could be fun. That's another Halloween themed program that we have, and we had to reschedule our stargazing, and it looks very rainy for the next week and a half, so I'm not sure when that'll be right now, but thank you for coming, and please welcome Rob.
All right, thank you. Can you guys all, no, you're not gonna be able to say. All right, I'm gonna try to, I blew out my knee this weekend, so kind of bear with me. I'm gonna try to get in a place that everybody will be able to see. No, you're good. You're good. I can just pull that back too. Matter of fact, that's what I'm going to do. No, you're fine. Really, you're fine. I'm just going to do that. All right. So, can we kill any of these lights or no? Because I'm going to rely on the contrast. And with a light like this on. Yeah. Okay. That'd be a little better. Hey, the pointer works. Wahoo. All right, so welcome everybody. Tonight's program is called Who Goes There? And it's presented by Agawam Paranormal. My name is Rob Goff Sr. I'm the founder and the director of the team, and I hope you guys enjoy tonight's presentation. Before I get going, I'm going to introduce you to the team. So you're going to see, if you haven't noticed already, I don't have a script. I don't use cue cards. This is a conversational program. So that means that I can actually cater it to each individual audience based upon Q&A during the program. All right, we are actually ending our 18th year of paranormal investigations in basically Western Mass. That totally floors me. When we first started putting this team together, I never expected that it was going to be around for 18 plus years. I mean, you're kind of, if you think about it, it's hard pressed to find somebody that's even had the same job for 18 years today. And, but here we are, 18 years of investigations. This was originally planned as a family activity. My wife and I, between the two of us, we have 4 children that are adult, that live locally. So as older parents know, at a certain age, the kids start doing their own thing, and you know, it's almost like a separation. But we decided everybody was interested in this, and we were going to see what we could do about maybe once or twice a year, going out to some place and having some fun, buying a gizmo and a gadget, and that was going to be the extent of it. And no, that did not happen. I have a current roster of over 30 members, including 3 psychics. And I could tell you, again, when I first started this, I had not considered working with psychics. They're cool to work with. When we go to a location, whatever it may be, they come to my house. They don't even know what town we're going to. So there's zero possibility of any of the psychics researching the location. So that's always cool. Then we go there, and I've already got historical research done on the location, and they know things that there's no way that they should know. So to me, it's just validation, but it's really cool when they are able to do that. The website, agawamparanormal.com. Over 167.5 million hits. That is crazy. I could tell you, again, it's professionally done. And I think my web designer, I think she has a sense of humor, because as soon as I get comfortable with the old design, she changes it on me and I have to start all over again. Matter of fact, I've got a ton of updates that I have to do on it, but you'll find it there, agawamparanormal.com. A lot of good reading material on there, a lot of information on case updates. And you'll see with the cases, the case files, if there's confidentiality, like if I'm going to somebody's home, I'm very vague. I may say it was a home in Belchertown and this is what we did, but I don't identify the person or the location. But if I don't have confidentiality restrictions, I go nuts with it. Like the 3 places you're going to see tonight have 0 confidentiality, so I can speak openly about them. All right, Agawam Paranormal in the local communities. Residential sites are our most common request. This is somebody's home, but they do become very personal. So when somebody reaches out to us, it's because they're afraid of their house. Something happened. They're afraid to be there. So we go in, we set up all the equipment, we go through the investigative process, and including the research, and we try to take care of the situation for them. And as a result of that, you do become very good friends with residential clients. And at the end of the process, I feel I win if they now know that they have a friend that does this. They can call me at any time and, hey, it started up again, can you come back? Yep, no problem, we'll be there. And, but residential sites are the most common that are out there, followed closely by commercial sites. Now, commercial site might be employee problems on site, or it could even be customer reports if it's like a restaurant or something like that. And we've done a ton of those too. Restaurants are very, very popular. But again, you set up, it's the same process, just different location. But it doesn't get quite as personal as the residential ones do. Historical sites. Now, I grew up in Chicopee, and I can tell you that had I 18 years ago, if I had treated this like an actual business, it never would have occurred to me to market to historical sites. I drove by these places thousands of times and never even noticed them. And for me, high school and college, I hated history as a subject. It was dry memorization of facts that I will never, ever use. And I hated it. It was just a necessary evil. But now we go and we do a historical site, you start doing the research on that, that history comes alive. And it's very, very interesting in that regard and a whole different way for me to look at history. But we'll end up with the docents' observations. These are just the people who walk folks around. They're the ones that experience the most. And sometimes they just say, this building's been here for 200 and something years. It's got to have something here, and they're just curious. They may not have actually had any experience beyond, it kind of feels a little creepy in here sometimes. And then we'll come in and set up, and I don't mind doing it. For me, it's an honor. Local library presentations like this. I can tell you that Belchertown is the 65th library that I'm working with in Massachusetts. Not to show my ignorance, but I didn't know there were 65 libraries in Massachusetts. But yeah, 65 libraries. I've been all the way out to the Cape. I've been up to Row and all across the state. And it's just, for me, it's fascinating because, and you're going to hear me say this at least one other time, I'm nobody special. I'm just a schmuck with a really cool hobby. And for me, it's really humbling when you get a room full of folks that want to hear what you've experienced and you can show them on screen. That to me is just awesome. So again, I thank you for all coming. This Who Goes There program, there's 23 different locations that a library picks 3 from. And I put together a program based on those choices. So tonight, Belchertown Library picked out what you're going to see tonight. And we average about 40 people plus in a library for an audience. And some audiences, some libraries, they're happy to get 3 or 4 people, some of these smaller towns. And, they get 20 people. They're like, oh my God, this is awesome. And that's why I always encourage, talk about what other events you have coming up. Tell your audience what's going on next week. We do, as I mentioned, a lot of charity work locally, free presentations just like this, and raffles and donations. Now, it's important to kind of give you a little bit of clarification. To get a paranormal speaker to do a program like what you're seeing here tonight is about $350 an hour. My programs are 90 minutes. That would be a $500 bill to the library. I have never charged anybody anything for any of our presentations. I don't feel it's right. Like I said, I'm a schmuck with a hobby. I'm nobody special. But we'll also, if we're doing a charity event, I'll donate guest investigator spots. So you can actually buy raffle tickets for the charity, and when you win, you and a guest get to join us and you get a t-shirt, uniform shirt, and you get the experience. Now what's cool about the experience is that I'm gonna put you to work. You're gonna be using the same equipment you see on television right here when we're on a case. And you're gonna be with a team, and they take you under their wing, and we take you right through the whole thing. And it's an awesome experience. But you get the tangible and the experience, and the charity gets the benefit. We always take a scientific approach every time we're doing a case. What I mean by that is that we're using state-of-the-art equipment. I have professional investigators and historical research. Now, show of hands, how many of you folks watch this stuff in one way or another on television? Whether it's Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, any of these shows. Okay. The equipment that we are currently using for an investigation, they don't even have on TV yet. This is next year's equipment for them. My wife made the mistake of telling me to go ahead and buy whatever I wanted. And I did. And so we've got a bunch of new stuff out that's just brand new to the market. And I could tell you the results have been phenomenal with it.
I have a question.
Shoot, yeah.
So when you go to people's houses and to businesses, do you charge them? No.
No. Agawam Paranormal is a totally non-monetary group. I don't charge for investigations. I don't charge travel expenses, and I also don't accept donations. It is literally totally non-monetary. If we're going out to your house and you're adamant you're going to do something for my people, all right, I tell you, look, we're probably going to be at your home till 2. Just have the coffee going. And that's literally it. I don't believe in, a paycheck for this. It's not like I'm a doctor, you're sick, you go to a doctor, you get a shot, you feel better. There's no real tangible like that. It's a work in progress. And as a result, I've never been comfortable with accepting anything from anybody for it, and I never have.
You got a hand over there.
Yes?
What type of spirits have you,
I'm sorry, I got up. Try that again.
what type of spirits have you,
What does a spirit what?
what type of spirits have you, seen?
We've seen animal spirit, which is an interesting story. We've actually had a couple of animals. We've had intelligent spirits, which is basically a person without a body. And my psychics are very good with those. They may tell me that there's somebody sitting next to you in that chair, and I'm as psychic as a stone. I look, I don't see nothing. But rest assured, Cindy's gonna have a camera looking at that chair tonight, and when she takes a picture and we see a person sitting next to you, the only reason I caught that photo is because my psychic told me to look there. But we've also had residuals. A residual spirit is not really there. It's almost like a tape recording. And it's believed that under proper conditions, it'll play back. And we've also had, interestingly enough, intelligent and residual in the same place. We had the spirit of a little boy who was intelligent, and in his mind, he was running around the house playing with his brothers and sisters, but his brothers and sisters were residual. And they were just all playing together, and because of that, he didn't want to leave. He was happy. So we ended up, we brought in an actual toy and left it there for him. It was in a museum now. And yeah, does that answer you?
Yeah, I think
You think so? Okay, all right. All right, let me get back to here. All right, so human compassion is a very big part of what we do. A lot of times people will reach out to us and the first thing I say is, you're gonna think I'm crazy. And with 18 years with Agawam Paranormal, now it's very, very rare that somebody will tell me an experience, that is new to me. That I can't say, oh yeah, that happened here or that happened there. But it does happen on occasion, but very, very rare. But the human compassion part of it is support and understanding, and then the psychic's intuitions. Now, surprisingly, and you may be surprised by this, I do not consider the psychic's intuitions to be evidence of anything. To me, it's verbal. I cannot manipulate it, I cannot recreate it, and I cannot test it. So it becomes hearsay. They see the lady sitting in the front row. Okay, fine. Now Cindy takes the camera, takes a picture. Now I got a photo. That I can play with. And you're gonna see photos tonight that are real good. But so the psychics are a lot of fun, and they're super, super talented, but I don't consider them to be evidence. All right, so now we're going to get into why you guys are here. Cases 17005. This is the Gaylord Memorial Library. This is in South Hadley. It's right across from Mount Holyoke College. And when you see it from the outside, it really is a cool looking building. It is so small, but it's a really nice place to visit. So history of the location always comes into play with paranormal activity in one way or another. So here's the outside of the building. You can see that right there. Now, it was the former site of the God's Acre Cemetery, was right here. So they decided that they were going to move the cemetery, and another shot of the building. And in 1897, the cemetery was moved to the Evergreen Cemetery, except for John Preston. John Preston's grave is still there today. It's behind the library. There's one stone, and that's where he's buried. And the reason for that is that John Preston's family was the one that he donated the land in 1727. And he was the first person buried there. And the families told him, nope, you're not. You can move the cemetery, but you're not moving John. And like I said, today, he is still there. You'll see a video of it in a bit. Now, in 1902, South Hadley was granted a portion of the land for construction of the Gaylord Memorial Public Library. So they had this massive acreage that the cemetery now vacated. They put this library there, and the rest of it basically now is parking lot. And but now you got the Gaylord Library, and it really is that small. It's not deceiving. It is that tiny. The building cost a whopping $23,961 with an additional expense of $1,200 for architectural fees. Imagine that today? Yeah, a couple of zeros. William H. Gaylord and his wife, Betsy, both lived to see the completion and dedication in September of 1904. But this is kind of a bittersweet story. You can see some of the renovations being done to it. In December of 1904, Mr. Gaylord suffered a stroke and died. Only hours later, Mrs. Gaylord also perished from a long-term illness. There was actually a double funeral on Christmas Day that year. As I said, kind of bittersweet. But they did get to see their library completed. Portraits actually still hang today in the reading room. This is going to come back in a few moments, and that's the portrait of Mr. Gaylord. We're going to keep that in mind in a few minutes. The first librarian was Miss Rebecca Smith, and she served until August of 1919. They actually think that it might be her as one of the spirits that's still in there today, keeping an eye on the place and making sure everything's good. And this is the inside of the building. I mean, it is gorgeous in there, but it's super tiny. All right, so the actual investigations that we did, this is where you're going to see photos of the investigation as it happened. This is not evidence. So you can see some of my people are getting set up down in the basement, going through some motions. Now you notice how she's got a sleep mask on. She's not napping, although she might be. We use a device called the spirit box, and yeah, you know that one. What's that?
Is it called the Estes method?
This is the Estes method, yes. So what she's referring to with that, a spirit box is an AM/FM digital radio that, kind of like in your car, you have seek and scan on your radio. Well, the spirit box doesn't stop. It starts rotating through the frequencies. And when you hear it, you're hearing a ch-ch-ch-ch sound, and that's the actual radio changing frequencies, okay? Now, what we do is, as she mentioned, the Estes method, you wear a sleep mask so that now you've got no visual input affecting your perception, and we'll throw on a pair of Sony noise-canceling headphones. So now there's no audible. The nice part about this, I'm just going to pick on you because you're sitting next to me. I've got you all wired up with this thing, okay? What's your first name? Audrey and I are doing the questions. You've got you're covered. You can't see, you can't hear us. But we may ask, what was your name? Or she may have another question about what we think might be there. And all you're doing is parroting what you hear come through the FM radio. You have no idea if it's relevant to what we just asked until after we're done. Then we tell you, man, did you hit that right on the head? We've had that happen where we'll ask a name and then we get a historically accurate name that we know goes with the history of the place. And it's an awesome experience. The Estes experiment is with the sensory deprivation. We were actually doing it before it became popular. It just popped into my head to try it this way. And because when you're reviewing audio and you hear that constantly, it's annoying. So I said, why don't we put headphones on somebody to let them hear it? And now we don't have to. And everybody thought it was a great idea. So that's one of the things that we do. Now I actually have a mask that lights up red and it projects a red light on your face. And it does the same thing as this, but with the red light, supposedly, and I don't know if this is marketing or not, it enables you to be even more sensitive to what you hear coming through. I can't tell you it works. It looks funny watching somebody with it, but it does work. And that's before this, though. So they're upstairs taking readings with the EMF meters. One of the plaques that's in there with the Gaylord family information. The guy in the middle was the director when we were there, and she was one of his staff. Excuse me. That's a K2 meter, registers electromagnetic fields. And that's me in command center. They always stick me in a dark corner and leave me there all night. They don't love me. Right, Cindy? All right, and again, the director and one of the employees. That is the tombstone in the back behind the building. And so now it's marked as the evidence. I'm going to stress this very clearly. It's potential evidence. There is no such thing that will ever be shown that's proof positive of Casper. This is all subjective. What I can tell you is with 30 years plus, 38 years in this field, this is the stuff that makes me scratch my head and say, gee, I wonder. Okay? So be clear with that. This is the stuff that I could not readily explain. So we're going to start off with some photos. Now, when you see a purple image like this is what they call full spectrum. This goes into the ultraviolet. If it's green, it's night vision, that's infrared, okay? And you already know what a regular photo looks like. So this is taken in infrared. You can see this device that's on the floor right here. It's lit up on the top. That is called the periscope. It's an EMF pointer almost. It's like a mohawk. It has fingers going up. They start at green and they end at red. Wherever the energy source is in relation to those fingers, the fingers closest to it light it up. But you have to be real close to that device to light it up at all. So here we can see red. So there's something in this general area that we aren't simply seeing. And now you can see how it's going over to the green. Lynn, who's sitting there, is not close enough to affect that device. But she's interacting with it, trying to make it go back and forth. And that device is a lot of fun because a lot of times we'll go and ask, which do you prefer? Do you like the green or do you like the red better? And then it goes and it lights up whichever one. It's just a way to engage in communication. And again, now this is night vision. And I actually will, I don't encourage it so much, but I do allow my people, I think she's got a crystal here somewhere, or if not, in the next one. I let them play with that. If they want to try it out, as long as they're not getting obsessive with it, I'll let them try it out and see if they get anything with it. And you can see the periscope still reacting on the floor. Yeah, you can see the crystals hanging right there. Yes? Sure.
Like the crystals that happen?
I'm sorry. You're too quiet speaking.
Is it a bad thing to interact with spirits with like a crystal?
I don't recommend it. You're asking if it's a bad thing to use crystal. I don't recommend it any more than I recommend using a Ouija board or dowsing rods. The reason for that is not really what you may think. Hollywood's going to paint a different picture. The reason for it is that it can become obsessive, and if you get obsessed with using that device, you can open a door, and once that door is open, you have no way of knowing what came in. It would be like, let's just say you went home tonight and you decided you were going to go to Walmart or someplace local, go shopping for 2 hours, but you left every door and window in your house open. And then you come back in 2 hours and you hope nothing came in. It's the same mindset. So you want to be very careful when you're playing with Ouija board, crystals, or dowsing rods. I use dowsing rods on an investigation, but even I only use them periodically. I don't use them all the time. Okay? All right. And you can see her with the crystal there going right over to green. Now the crystal's not making that light move. It's whatever's there with her that's reacting and playing with the periscope. All right, so I do have some videos for you. It might take it a moment. There we go. Now we set up motion sensors with our cameras. That motion sensor went off. This is downstairs in the basement. Nobody was even in the basement at the time. And a bug or a piece of dust or something like that is not sufficient to actually trip that sensor. And then it slowly fades away. Now, if this was something that was a real quick trip, it would have gone on and then right away faded. That stayed on for a few seconds. So something was affecting it in front of it, close by. You see a lot of motion sensors. This was a little while later. Tell you the best thing I like about these motion sensors, they are a gorgeous shade of blue. And they don't work in the daylight, in a regular lit room. They have to be in the dark. They're a night vision motion sensor.
Was the library staff that asked you to come out to the library?
Yeah. Yep. One of the bookshelves, you can see the motion sensor on the second shelf. And again, we're nowhere near here. And you can see how small the wings are on either side, because that's really almost the back wall at the end of that row. Same exact place. See how fast it went out? Okay, now the motion sensor is right here, but they've got it turned 180 degrees behind so that we aren't setting it off. But we have a mini mag light on the shelf below it, and they were asking if something could turn on the light for us. And you see there the light turning on. And one of my old members, Bobby. Yep, light turned on again. Nobody's anywhere near it.
How does that turn on? Is it a button or do you get a twisty end?
Twisty. It's like a mini mag light. It's a twist end. But the thing with a mag light is that if you use it as a light source during an investigation, you start a heating cool down process that the contact will actually expand and contract. We do not use the mag lights for a light source. We use LED ones instead. So when we set that up, it's cold. There hasn't been a start of that cycle. And that's the only way you can really do that experiment and have it work right. back to that. There you go with the mag light again going off.
Is it actually getting twisted, or is it actually lighting?
All I can tell you is that the contact is being made, whether it's through physical manipulation or just simply an insertion at the contact. I don't know. It would be such a small amount of movement to actually turn it on that there'd be really no way to tell. This is the headstone out back, and this was the only activity we had the entire night. And notice he's walking behind the motion sensor, so he doesn't even set it off. Yep. I'm out of here. But that was literally the only video we got, and I obviously put a camera on the headstone. Well, that was it. So I've got one more photo from this location. Now remember, when you see a purple photo, that's in full spectrum. That's into the ultraviolet. We take what we call establishing shots when we go into a location. These are for later use as comparative photos. If I don't know what I'm looking at, I've got a shot that I can bring back up and I know nobody's in it, there's no contamination, boom. So we took some this night using the full spectrum, and this was the picture that we got. Now, you may not be able to see it too clearly, so I'm going to play with the contrast and the brightness. But right back here, you can see that's about the head. There's a person standing there. What you're seeing that shine is the cellophane wrap on the books in the library reflecting the full spectrum light source back to us. And just in here, you can just see a person standing there. You can see the head most because of the reflection back. And then I played around with it a little bit more and that zoomed in. But I cannot explain that. I know for a fact there was nobody there when that shot was taken. And I can't explain how we got that photograph. But personal experiences on site, you always felt like you were being watched. EMF readings, the motion sensors you had, strange noises and the periscope activity. The strange noises, when my team was in the basement at one point, command center was on the main floor, and I'm up there and I'm working on a computer and I'm quiet. I mean, there's no noise. And they get on the radio and they're like, will you stop moving a desk? And I'm like, I'm not moving anything and I'm not hearing a desk. What are you talking about? They could hear what sounded like somebody moving a heavy table or desk across the floor, and it was right above them. And they were like, it had to be me messing with them. And I'm like, I'm sitting at the table. I'm on a computer. I'm not doing anything. But it was that was one of the things that happened. The other thing that happened that was pretty interesting was when we did the public reveal at this location at the Gaylord Library. They had, I'll say 75 people show up for that. It was standing room only, and it was elbow to elbow. Oh my God, the room was smaller than this. It is. And it was like, oh my God. So we go through the presentation, and I had actually had a conversation via email going back and forth with a psychic from South Hadley. And she ended up going to see this because we had never met. She wanted to see who I was, have a face to go with the name. So she's in the back standing room as I'm doing this presentation for them. And she noticed in one of the aisles that there was a man wearing a fedora with a long jacket on. And he was smiling, watching the presentation. And she's like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. You got somebody here, watching this. And she paid attention back and she looked back over and he was gone. And there was no way he could have gotten out because he would have had to gotten past her, brushed past her to leave. And it was later on, after the program ended, maybe 5-10 minutes later, she came up to see me, and that's where the portrait of Gaylord was hanging. And she's like, Bobby, that's who I just saw. And I'm like, okay. I said, well, what do you think? How did he like what he was? She goes, he was smiling from ear to ear. He liked it. I'm like, okay, good. I'm okay with that, But yeah, so we believe that it is at least Mr. Gaylord that's there. Yes?
Have you ever had any personal experiences with ghosts?
Yep. They started when I was 21, and they haven't stopped. I can't explain any of them, but I mean, there's a lot. I mean, if you want, hang out afterwards. I'll talk to you after, bring you up to speed. All right, and that's just, to me, that was a postcard quality photo, and I had to end their chapter with that. So does anybody have any questions on Gaylord Library itself? No? Okay, good. Second case we're going to is 13002, which is the Storlton Tavern. Now keep in mind, Storlton Village, pardon my use, is a separate entity from Storlton Tavern. Totally different. We did do the Village. Matter of fact, Agawam Paranormal was the first team invited and allowed to investigate Storlton Tavern. Growing up in Chicopee, I went to the Big E with my folks every year as a kid, and I was enthused with the blacksmith shop. It's haunted. One of the old blacksmiths is still there. But this is the restaurant, and we're going to talk about the history of that location. You can see here an old postcard from the Big E, the New England Village, as it was called originally. And if you go into Storlton Tavern, when you go in the side door, which is actually the front door, I believe it's the left-hand side, you could see some historical photos with some descriptions on the locations. Excuse me. So the Atkinson Tavern was built in 1789 in Prescott, Mass, and moved in 1928. The Baptist Meeting House was built in 1822 in Southwick and moved in 1930. Now, the younger folks in the audience probably have never heard of Prescott, Massachusetts. And there's a reason for that. I dare say that you've all heard of Quabbin Reservoir. Well, Prescott was one of the towns that was destroyed when they created Quabbin. So it is no longer there. It is now underwater. And here's a photo of the Atkinson Tavern before it was moved. And a picture of the First Baptist Church before that was moved. The meeting house. Now supposedly, and I'm not sure which one it is, but the Atkinson store is in here, one of these buildings. I'm not sure which one it is. But that's actually Prescott back in the day. Here's a map of the old town. Now, the Atkinson Tavern and the Baptist Meeting House were actually attached in 1957. Before that, they were separate, and now you can see how they're attached. And some of you folks go to the Big E, know this little bungalow thing is where they have the kettle corn. Good stuff. Now, before being moved to Storlton, the Atkinson Tavern was used for dances and town meetings upstairs, which is called the Vermont Room, and housed the general store and tap room downstairs. The Baptist Meeting House was originally where Dunkin' Donuts currently resides on Route 57 in Southwick. And that's how, I've seen it this way many, many times on the Big E. This is what the inside of it looks like. This is actually the Atkinson part, and very, very homey. If you've never been there, the food's really good. The atmosphere is incredible. And if you're in here and you have to use the facilities, use the one that's upstairs. That bathroom's haunted. And here we go, the way in. And this is that, I was saying side/front entrance is right there. Now the investigations, my buddy Chris Paisano thinking he'd be funny to put a flashlight under him and get a creepy photo for that year's Channel 40 event. It's my daughter Jody and some of the team. When we do audio work, EVP sessions, we always try and have everybody sitting down. This way here we don't make any extra noise, and it helps us not to contaminate our own stuff. My good friend Rich. She was the manager at the time. I don't know if she's still there or not, but the evenings that we were there, she was having experience after experience. It was almost funny watching her. This is outside of that haunted bathroom upstairs, I believe. Downstairs in the basement in the prep area. And then one of my people doing a partial Estes method, spirit box. Now, the potential evidence here, we got some photos, some audio, and some video. Hoping that the audio is going to transfer well, but we'll find out. Let's start off with some photos. Now here you can see obviously a ball on the side here. More times than not, I discount orb activity as just something in the air, non-paranormal. But I like when you start seeing detail like this inside, then it kind of makes you think twice. Dust or any crap that's floating in the air will have a flat surface to it. It won't have any detail like that. So, and this was right where they reported the spirit of an old waitress was being felt. And then a second later, you can still see it's there. And still there, right behind the same person, but then it's gone. Didn't fade away, it was just gone. Now you can see here, Liette's using the periscope again, lighting it up. It's lighting up for her. K2 is getting a strong hit there. That's looks like 3 out of 5. That's another EMF meter. Very, very sensitive piece of equipment. That one's going off for her quite well. Mini mag light. And what we do is a lot of times we'll put the mag light through a ring of foam so that it acts as a shock absorber. So no vibration coming through the ground can accidentally trip the light source. And that thing next to it is another kind of periscope. It's a horizontal instead of vertical, but same basic concept. Now, I got some audio clips that I'm going to play for you. And if I remember right, the first couple are pretty soft. You might have to listen close with these. And I'm not sure how the speakers are going to play. We'll find out.
Okay, it's 4:10 a.m. It's July 14th, 2013. Here at the Starling Tavern. We are in the Vermont room upstairs.
Now, I'm not going to show you what it is yet. I'm going to play it one more time. After Jeff is talking, there's a whispered voice in there.
Okay, it's 4:10 a.m. It's July 14th, 2013. Here at the Starling Tavern. We are in the Vermont room upstairs.
What was interesting, now these are obviously much clearer with headphones on than they are with a speaker system. But what we found interesting with this was that it was right after Jeff identified the date, and what we heard through the headphones clearly was a whispered wow. Like they couldn't believe the date.
Okay, it's 4:10 a.m. It's July 14th, 2013. Here at the Starling Tavern. We are in the Vermont room upstairs.
All right. We'll try this one.
Can you tell us your name?
Sorry.
Right at the end, there's somebody whispering something. It's not us. I'll just play it through.
Can you tell us your name?
Sorry.
Right there. Even with headphones on, we couldn't make out what it was saying. It appeared to be a female voice, but no idea what it was saying. Now, this may get a little louder. Matter of fact, I know it's going to.
Are you able to knock on something like maybe one of these metal tables? That's a very distinct sound, like a... Can you do that? What is that? Did you guys hear that?
Wait a minute, do this. Wait a minute, what was that?
Are you able to knock on something like maybe one of these metal tables? That's a very distinct sound, like a... Can you do that? What is that? Did you guys hear that?
You love it when that happens. All right, so I do have some video I'm going to share with you guys from here. And this is upstairs. I can get my bearings here. It's got to be right outside. And you can see on the floor the meter going crazy. That is a proximity meter. Something is right there with it. We didn't scare him with that audio, did we? The knocking? Okay. This is called an SLS camera. And can you crank that volume up again? Here, I'm going to back it up and then we'll do it again. The SLS camera is it uses IR dots projected into the environment, and it allows us to map what we don't see. It's designed to do animal, child, and adult-sized stick figures.
Okay, the camera person is gone and I'm picking up something out.
If you're in the hallway, we believe we can see you on one of our cameras, and I think that you might be a little shy of the amount of people that are here. I want to invite you, please come into the space. Don't be shy. We really have no intention of harming you, no intention of asking you to leave, no intention of trying to get you gone. Please come in and join us at the table, take a seat, come into the space. You can stand if that makes you comfortable. Can you come in?
The camera that I have, I can actually see you. Oh, you just disappeared.
Yeah, wrong thing to say. So the next one is going to be a little louder. I have no idea why that one was so soft. This is downstairs in the prep area.
No. Oh, okay. Can you raise your hand up in the air? We can see you if you do it. I can tell you. Yep. There you go. Okay, so I see you. Your foot is up on the. Yep.
I mentioned how the blacksmith shop was haunted. We used this camera in the blacksmith shop, and we had some of the people from the Big E with us that night. And one of them pipes up. We had a stick figure in the blacksmith shop, and one of the people says, "Where did you go during the flood?" And I'm like, "Flood? What flood?" Well, where the blacksmith shop was prior to being moved, it had flooded 3 times. People were stuck in there for days. And so the stick figure is standing next to one of the pieces of equipment in there, points up to the rafter, climbs up on the machine, gets up on the rafter and sits on the rafter, and then waves at us. That, I was like floored. I'm like, okay, I believe in this camera. Okay, yep, under the right circumstances, it works. But this was, again, this at the tavern itself. All right, so the conclusions that we came with was based on the equipment, personal experience, as well as psychic intuitions. We believe that there are, in fact, several spirits haunting or hanging around the tavern. When we were upstairs in the Vermont room, when we first started setting up, you saw the motion sensors in the videos. So you're familiar with the pretty blue and all that. We're in command center. I'm looking at that camera. And about every 75 to 90 seconds, it would go off. And nobody's up there. And I'm like, great, I got a motion sensor that's dying on me. So I sent one of my people up. They grabbed that one, swapped it with another, and just swapped motion sensors. I'm like, I had them put the one that I thought was broken where it didn't matter. I wanted a good one in the Vermont room. So they do that, they come back downstairs, and don't you know, the new one that was put in there goes back every 75 seconds, 90 seconds, it turns back on again. So now I'm like, something's obviously setting it off. And so I asked my psychic, what's going on? She goes up there, and she goes, Rob, there's a woman here, I'm gonna guess late 20s, early 30s, that is walking from that window to that window. And every time she goes by it, she's waiting for somebody, she's tripping the motion sensor. And I'm like, Okay, that's cool, because now I got two pieces of equipment that reacted to that same presence, although we couldn't see her. The psychic picked up on it right away and actually gave me a description. So that was the Vermont building. Does seem to be a young woman, again, pacing back and forth between two of the windows in the Vermont room, as if she's waiting for somebody. But there's also an older woman that roams more throughout the tavern. We encountered her in a Massachusetts room. That's the upstairs on the other side. So as I mentioned to the young lady up front earlier, I will occasionally use dowsing rods. Dowsing rods are an L-shaped piece of metal. Usually it's a heavy gauge wire. Mine have hollow wooden dowels for handles, so my hands aren't touching the actual metal. And dowsing rods are a personal piece of equipment. Nobody else can use mine. They're attuned to my energy. I don't know how they do it, but they do. And so I'm sitting up here in the Massachusetts room, and I'm very still, and we're asking yes and no. Yeses are crosses, no is a part. And I'm asking a series of questions. We're talking to an older woman. And my psychic's up there with me, and she's, watching all this going on. And after 3-4 minutes, they just stopped working. And I'm like, I looked at Chris, and I'm like, my psychic, I'm like, what's going on? She just started laughing. She goes, I don't know how to tell you this. I said, well, tell me. She goes, the lady got tired of talking to you. She got bored, so she left. And I'm like, oh, thanks a lot, But that was upstairs in the Massachusetts room. She's the one that people report seeing throughout the location. And the staff there gets reports very frequently about, oh, who was the older woman that was in that room? And, in dress, period dress. And we believe that's her. Now, downstairs in the prep area does seem to be someone observing people going about their business. Could be a former employee. That was what you heard before with the knocking. Now, I've got a very good friend of mine who at one point was on a team who used to work here as a kid. And he was telling me, he says, that downstairs is so creepy. There's definitely something down there. And it was creepy. So, I don't know. These were the 3 strongest spirits present that interacted with my team in our journey investigation. But while there may be possibly others, none are looking to cause any trouble or are evil. They're just here by choice. They just really, for whatever reason, loved that building. And it was a big part of their life and their existence. Anybody have any questions on Storlton Tavern? I hear they have a nice buffet on the weekend that has, if you like Thanksgiving, a nice turkey dinner. All right, so case number 13001 is the Josiah Day House. This is in West Springfield on Park Street. If you're familiar at all with West Side, it's right near what I've always called the Ground Round Rotary. And just over the bridge from Springfield Inn. And it's really it's an awesome place. So history of this site, here's a sign that's outside in front. As you can see, it was built in 1754. It's the oldest known solid brick salt box house of the period in the country. Now a salt box house, what that means is that the front of the roof, it's sloped, is short, but one side is a lot longer. It looked like literally like a salt box from back in the day. And that's how they used to make these. It's owned by the Ramapo Historical Society since 1903, when Lucinda Day, who was the last person to live there, she passed away in her room and gave it to Ramapo afterwards. This is what it looked like back in the day. It's kind of what it looks like now. Well, not kind of, it is what it looks like now. Now, the legend of the candle. When I first heard this, I thought it was awesome. Lucinda Day is going to be the one we're talking about. When the street was raised, so Park Street is actually elevated above their doorway. Okay, so there's like stairwell down. There became a step down to actually enter the house. Lucinda would often keep a lit candle in the window above the front door so that a visitor could see their way to the doorway. Okay, kind of makes sense. Superstition was that if a caller makes a false step, the romance was going to be spoiled. In other words, the guy takes a face plant, she ain't getting a visitor tonight. And so she always made sure that there was a candle, and you can see in the graphic, I inserted a file for a candle, and that's where it is. They still, to this day, put an electric candle in that window It's not always on, but they do put it in there, just for historical sake. So the investigations. Now, a lot of times the client will invite some people to join them, and I do encourage that. I have no problem with that whatsoever. So the first night we're in here, I've got this film crew show up. And I'm like, who are these guys? Come to find out, this was the film crew that worked with Martha Stewart. And they were there because they knew the president of the Historical Society, and they came in and filmed what we were doing. They were totally fascinated by it. And it was pretty cool working with them for the evening. That is Stan Svek. He is in charge of the history department in West Springfield, at least at the high school level. And he was at the time the president of Ramapo. That's my wife, Hope, looking like an Eskimo. We were here in January, and I kid you not when I tell you that it was like single digits in that place. You went outside to warm up. It was crazy. And so she was so bundled up, I kept telling her, she looked like the little kid in Christmas Story. She can't put her arms down. But we had a great time there. We've been there probably 4 or 5 times. This is something that was not, well, it's only the second time I had encountered this. Back in the day when somebody passed, what they did was they actually gave them a haircut, and they would weave your hair into a wreath. That is human hair. And by our standards today, that's creepy. It's like almost gross. But that's what they used to do as a memorial back in the day. That's what they did. So potential evidence, we got some audio, we have some photos, and some video. The audio here is pretty cool. You're going to hear the spirit box, and for 2 of them. And so you'll get what we're looking at for that. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you on this one. We'll find out. All right. But let's start off with the audio. We can get that out of the way. So here's your first one. Yep, that's loud. Yeah, it's a good volume for the rest of them. That won't be bothered. All right, so I'm going to play one more for you without that squawk in the front. And again, you're hearing the spirit box. Kevin was actually apologizing because when we go into a location, we're handling things. So we're touching their personal possessions, and he was apologizing that we were doing that. And then you hear the spirit box say, touch, which was pretty cool. Not a common word.
Stuff, but sometimes you can help them butt touch things. It's always good touch.
So the next one I got for you is also a spirit box. And you're going to hear Kevin talking about the master bed in the master bedroom that came over from England. And it's after he's done that you're going to hear the spirit box say something else.
And you sit on this big bench from England.
Did you guys hear that at the end? What do you think it said? Do it for you with the answer. It said, oh, we're dead.
And you sit on this big bench from England.
That's good. That's the nonsense. Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff there. So now, if I remember right, the next one, sometimes we don't get voices. Sometimes we get
30,000 sometimes.
Yeah! Everybody's looking at me and I'm looking at you. Sometimes we get other sounds.
Were you involved in the construction of this house?
Just moving upstairs.
It actually sounded like somebody was dragging one of the heavy chests across the floor. But we had cameras up there, and there was nobody else. There was nobody out there.
Were you involved in the construction of this house?
Just moving upstairs.
They could hear it right through the ceiling. So, now I got some video for you. I got one video. Stan Savek, again, the guy who was in charge of the he was the president of the Historical Society, and there's no more sound. You're all set. Okay. He was standing in a doorway, thank you, on the second floor, looking into a bedroom. Now, when we first did the psychic walkthrough here, Christine is a peanut. There's no other way to put it. She's like 5'1", maybe 110 pounds, soaking wet. There is nothing to her. Now, I'm not a little guy. So she's walking in front of me. She walks into this room, and it's just her and I in place, and stops. And I almost ran her over. And I'm like scrambling not to take her out. And I'm like, what? She points in front of her, and she goes, there's an old lady sitting at a spinning wheel, right there. Now I look, I'm as psychic as a stone. I don't see anything. But like I said, rest assured, we're gonna have cameras there in a minute. The video you're gonna see now is the doorway that we were walking into. Chris saw the woman to the left of the screen at the end of the door. So Stan, when he was up here with us, heard what he described as fingernails on a window. And he turned around to investigate it, and then you're gonna see something come in the room and slide right up the door. How's that for an intro? Did you guys see that? I'll do that one more time. That's the only video. And that's actually my wife sitting in the hallway. But they heard fingernails on the window, which is directly behind Stan now, on his left-hand side. And it was like, get out of the way, I want to come in the room. He stepped out of the doorway, and that ball of light entered the room. Take that for what it's worth. But now the photos that we got. Now, photos for us, when you see night vision photographs, we take one a second, 3 at a time, okay? I want, again, comparison photos for each thing, so I can, if I get something, I can maybe explain it. Or like this, maybe not so much. We've got 3 photos, and I'm going to show them to you. And this is the doorway. That's where Stan just was. So this is where Christine thought the woman at the spinning wheel was sitting. Okay? So I've got Amanda in the room. That's the first one. That's the second one. And if you notice, now there's something in that edge. And that's the third one. About a second apart. And she only manifested for the second one. Now, all I did in this next shot was crop that corner out. Okay? No enhancements. That is just cropped. Now I played with the enhancements. I played with the contrast and the brightness. You could see her face. She's wearing a bonnet. Her arm reaching in front of her. That's the belt of her apron going across her lap. The apron coming, it's hard enough to do this without the thing in front of me. That's the apron on the back and then swooping across the floor. That's Christine's woman sitting at a spinning wheel. I wasted 2 hours trying to reproduce that. Not even close. Not even close. And then this was another, just an enhancement, but I think the second one is the better of the two. We believe that is Lucinda Day, because that was her bedroom, and that was where she passed. So now that you've seen and heard everything, I ask, what do you believe? And definitely, if you walked away tonight with food for thought, I did my job with this presentation. So remember that all services are completely free of charge to the client. Agawam Paranormal does not even accept donations. Everybody will always ask me, well, how do you get all the stuff? Because my wife lets me. It really is, Cindy, wouldn't you say it really is that simple? If you enjoyed tonight's presentation, give feedback to the library. Let them know that you enjoyed it and that you'd like to see us come back again maybe next year with some different material. We could do an informative one like the Ghostology 101 or another Who Goes There with 3 different locations. And, you know, we love doing these. We don't, like I said, since we're non-monetary, my entire budget is word of mouth for advertising. And so people walk away, hopefully, you know, food for thought at the very least. You enjoyed yourself tonight. If you watch this stuff on TV and you have a question and you ask your TV, if it answers you, you need to call me. But you come to these and it's like, you know, Q&A is a big part of what we do. And, you know, you'll see where this is the end of the presentation. And hold on just one second. I want to thank everybody truly for coming out here tonight to see this presentation. Thank you for supporting the Belchertown Library. And you guys were incredible. And I can't say enough. Thank you. Thank you.